Hello everyone, today we want to continue our RS3 modeling. I have created this shoulder line here. There is a 3 degrees with 4 CVs, and I've just checked that with the side view, and you can also check it with the top view here, and as you see it's approximately correct. So you have some curvature stuff here that you can see the minimum maximum here, and you can also turn on the curvature to watch how the curvature of your curve is. But for now, let's forget it. As you see, we have created this line with respect to two views, side view and the top view. The problem is when you are changing to the back view, you have a little mistake. I mean, a little problem here. They are not exactly matched, but as you know, I told you the blueprints have some problems sometimes, so you can move the CVs as you wish to move it closer to this curve. Anyways, there's no problem here. You can move the back canvas if you want. You can move the back canvas to create something very matched. So this is the only way to have an exact curve, but I don't want to change this. I don't want to move the back canvas, so it's okay. I'm going to continue with side and top view, and I just want to get some help from my back view. So there's a little problem, but it's not important. Take care of moving CVs very much, because you are going to create a bad shaped curve. So just try to move CVs as less as you can, because if you move them so much, your curvature of the curve is going to be destroyed. So let me just check the photos, and as you see, there's a shoulder line with a line below that. You can add that surface with a draft surface and get an intersect between that surface and the surface below and the big surface below, which is the door surface, and add a fillet between them so you can have that shape. So just try to create that with the draft tool. Anyways, you can create that with another way. You can create that in another way, and that way is creating another line, another curve there, and just use freeform blends as you are doing here. Or for example, the surface at the top of the trunk and the surface on the shoulder. You have a reflect here, so you can create this area positionally, and then you can add a variable fillet here. We're gonna talk about that. And here we have 4 surfaces which you can create with the draft tool again and add an intersect, or you can create curves with freeform blend. You can have some surfaces here and add fillets, but you know, there are some special ways, there are some tricks that we want to talk about that in this video to create much better shaped, and then we are going to move to other surfaces. Now let me just create the curves, create the wireframe. So this is a wireframe based modeling, so I'm going to use align symmetry and the curves to create what I want. Okay, as you see, I have created the curves. It is so easy, it's just time consuming. I have just completed the wireframe of this area. Don't forget to use symmetry align tool here. And as you know, we had some problem with our back view, so it's better to use side and top much more than the back view. I mean, your curves should exactly set on the side and top blueprint, not exactly on the back, but sometimes it sets on the back too, sometimes it not, sometimes it doesn't. So I have my wireframe. What I want to do is creating wireframe, and as you see, they are all using symmetry align tool. As you see, there are some spaces between the curves here, you know, because this curve is not connected to this curve, so I have created a space between them. Anyways, you can also extend these curves, and because you can work on this area, I mean, you should, it's better to work on this area in surface modeling, not wireframe, so it's not important to connect those surfaces. Okay, let me just check this area. There is a negative and again positive tilt. As you see, you can see the tilts here. It's a negative and positive, and then they are connecting to each other, so they are aligning to each other positionally. So let me just continue. We have this line, we have a line here. We are not creating this curve with respect to the light wireframe, because our light is going to get created with use of the trim tool. So we're gonna create the wireframe of the light in the back view, then project it into your final surfaces and trim that. So this is our target. Let me just move these CVs a little bit to get a well shape. I'm just playing with CVs. Let me just move them a little bit. Okay, it's much better. Okay, we have a trunk here, so we can use the square tool to create the shape. No, I should not talk about this because it's very easy. Just create that positionally, and there is a line here, a little line, so you can check it in the hardware view. But if we add implied curvature here or implied tangency here, so we don't have any line and it's completely created very soft. So this is our trunk. Now let me just create a guide curve here. We have 1, 2, 3 guide curves, so let me just move this CV a little bit to revise our curve here. Move it a little upward, so it's much better now. You know, the best way here is duplicating the other curve and copy that and rotate that, so you're gonna have a better result. So I created this little curve. You can also use the line option to create 2-degree CVs. So you can check here, you can check the tilts of each surface here, and as you see in the details, there is a very little crown here. So you're gonna move it a little bit upward or rightward as we are turning on the curvature. That little move is creating a crown like this. Okay, turn off the curvature. Or you can add much crown if you want. It is very depends on you. So let me just check the back view again. At first we are going to create a sharp model here, as we did for our diffuser, and we created all the surfaces and the CAS process positionally and without any fillets. You know, we have added some fillets to our diffuser in the last chapter or the chapter before that, but it was just for the tutorial, so you are not going to create the fills before you have your sharp model. Okay, we have a little bit inside crown here, so we're gonna create that, and our final curve here, the third curve, and I think you have a little crown here, but you can check that. You know, the reflex shows us a very little crown here, so we're gonna add that crown now. For example, this area, you have something like an inside crown here, which is only for that section, not for all of that surface. So you're gonna separate those surfaces and create them manually. So you have a crown here, but you know, I'm adding a very little bit crown. You can add much more crown here. can add bigger crowns. So what I can do here now, I can use B-rail here because I'm not sure that one side of my curve is connecting. So if I have a dot, so I'm going to create with a B-rail surface. Okay, I'm using implied curvature for that middle section, so the other section, and just be careful that using the line, not the surface edge. So this is very important. So I've also created this one. If you care about these areas, you can also add a line here. So you have a square here, you can use the square tool, and after that you're gonna use the B-rail tool again. So this is also optional, and this is another B-layer. So our sharp model is ready. And as you see, they are all A-class surfaces. Why? Because the degrees of our surfaces is not more than 5 degrees in U and V. There is no spans, they are single span surfaces. And so the single span surface is much more important in class A surface. And so there is no span, there are single span. There is no new span, exactly. And we have 3 cross 2. As you see, we are adding implied curvature here, so they have 3 degrees in U and 2 degrees in V. But it really depends on your curves. If your curves have less than 5 degree CVs, if they have less than 5 degrees and 6 CVs, so you can have A-class surfaces there. But you know, the details here are much more important in A-class, because considering A-class quality for the details here, for the fillets or any other details, is much harder. So I have a line here. You can turn on the CVs and just move it outside if you want. After creating the surfaces, you can check it with the photos and move it. Sometimes your update is not going to create, and what's the problem? Your sections there at the middle is not completely aligned positionally to each other. So let me just move it without adding any other change. So I'm adding outside crown here, and also here we have an outside crown. I'm just zooming in. Okay. You know, there is a little change here because it's not exactly set on our blueprints. So we are going further this, and we would work on the other surfaces at next chapters. But for now we just told you how to add initial surfaces and how to add fillets. Okay, I've created fillet here, and as you see I have a bad problem here. So I'm gonna add a line here to trim this, because that area is not going to get what we want. I'm gonna project an ideal line here and just trim that. Okay. Let me just add a fillet here, so the fillet is created correctly, and our surface is multiple and Bezier surface, so it's A class. If I uncheck this, you know, I have some spans, but if I add Bezier, I check Bezier surface checkbox, we have single span, so it's A class quality. So this is very important, take care of that. Okay, I'm gonna check the fillet, how much is that? A little bit more than this. Okay, for example, this one is good. So what I can do here to complete the model, I can use B-rail surface with a 1 and 1. Let me just check here. There are many different ways. I can also add some blend curves here and detach one blend points. You know, I'm adding here and here. I'm gonna move it at the end, okay, and detach here. So I move it here at the end here, so I have a curve here that is connecting to this surface or curvature and connecting to the end positionally. So do exactly what I do. Okay, I forgot to detach. Just detach that to have a position connection there. So we can have a rail surface here. They are very different. There are very various ways to create surface here. Another surface here. Another rail here. So we have a good shape here, you know, much better shape here. But you can also use freeform blend between the surfaces. Let me just undo this one. Use the edge. If I have a positional edge here, let me check the rebuild surfaces. I can add a curve segment here to reduce the spans, or I don't know, create the tangency here. You know, it's okay for now because we don't have to create a very well shaped surface there, but this is your way. You can trim and add rail or freeform blend. If I use freeform blend at the middle between these two surfaces, it is much better way, but you know, I don't want to use that way. Okay, as you see, I just created a freeform blender and added a square here. There are very different ways to create a shape. There, you know, the patch light of here is very important, but we consider the quality. So it's okay here. But you know, you can add a freeform blend. That is a much easier way. You know, there is a detailed surface here, which is so hard for you to create, and so you should just try to achieve that surface. I know you can do that. Anyways, we would take a time and devote some time to that in next chapters. So we have created this fillet here, and it's okay. So we can add another fillet here between these surfaces, just to reduce the number here. Let me just... If you can't create your fillet here, it means there is a problem. As you see, that's created. If you can't, you can use tubular offset. As we talked about the tubular offset before, you can use tubular offset to trim the surfaces and add a freeform blend. And that freeform blend surface is acting like a fillet for you.